Hello, everybody! Thank you for sticking around. I know we've had a brief hiatus while I went to GP Vegas last week, so I'm here with a new video for you, and we're doing something real cool. There's a new mode of play in Magic Arena called Quick Singleton, and do I have a deck for you? So I had a lot of fun with this deck. It was something that I played on stream, and I've been testing and changing little bits and pieces of it, but it's Singleton without the Singleton, because what we're running is we're actually running a rats deck. So we're running Bad Rats, I call it, which is, as I said, a Singleton deck that's not Singleton. We have 23 rat colonies, so I'm back in the rat plan. And there's a lot of cool things that we can do with it. Nobody expects us to be playing this, and it's got a lot of really cool one-of-kind of cards. So there's a lot of things that help with the different rats. We've got things like Vanquisher's Banner and Immortal Sun to just pump them up. And I mean, it's just a really cool deck. Something that was added in to Magic Arena since the last time I played a rats deck was Kaladesh. And that leads us to another really cool card, one of the best cards to have with rats, which is Secret Salvage. So I'm going to kind of go through this whole deck. The idea is that we have a lot of early game punch because we've got all these early rats, so we can just smash through a ton of damage before anybody recovers or realizes what's happening. But we also have a bunch of cards later on that can actually fight a more mid-range battle as well, so we can kind of play both sides. What we start off with is we have all of these rats here, of course. So, you know, your rat colony, if you don't know it, a deck can have any number of cards named rat colony. So even though this is a Singleton event, which means that you're only allowed to play one of any copy of a card besides basic lands, rat colony is an exception. And so we can play as many as we want, and then it gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. So the more rats you have, the bigger they get. You can end up punching through for a ton of damage very quick, very early because of that. And then a lot of the rest of the deck is going to be things like removal. It's going to be some late game kind of value cards. And yeah, I'll just kind of go through all that. So we've got a lot of different pieces of removal. We've got Fatal Push, which is arguably one of the best pieces of removal, it's just not the best. It's super, super cheap and allows us to keep punching through damage early. One of the best hands that we can have is 3 swamps, Fatal Push, and like 3 rats kind of thing. Like that's just a great, great starting hand. Because we can play rats into rats, Fatal Push, and that's just fantastic. We also have Cast Down, destroy a non-legendary creature. There's going to be a lot of non-legends because, again, even though a lot of the decks here are going to be piles of kind of like mythics and stuff like that because you want to play all of the best cards if you're playing a Singleton event, there's still going to be a fair number of non-legends in that. We also have Moment of Craving for some of the more aggressive other decks, or for us to just push through damage early. We've got the Hour of Glory to exile a creature. We also have Settle the Score to exile a creature. It's important to have some ways to exile, since there are things like Scarab God. Scarab God is incredibly common from what I've seen so far in these Singleton events. It's very powerful cards. People want to play it. We also have Vraska's Contempt. So a bunch of things that exile, make sure that they can't get it back. Muldrotha is pretty common. That kind of, you know, big piles of value cards are fairly common in this. We also then have a Noxious Gearhulk is kind of one of our last pieces of removal. So just a big fatty that can swing the game by destroying something else. Then the other things that we have is we have a couple of other creatures that are just really good value. A lot of people are playing, like we said, a ton of really high value mythics and legends and stuff like that, and we've got Gonti to take advantage of that. So we can maybe steal somebody's Scarab God or other big spells like that, things like Immortal Suns that they themselves are playing, or their Planeswalkers, and Gonti's just been a house. So Gonti's excellent. We also have Dreadshade, because we do have the ability to make a lot of black mana. Not just because of the fact that we're running mostly swamps, but we also have a Cabal Stronghold, so we can, late in the game, just power through a Dreadshade for an absurd amount of damage. And it's been going pretty well, so I like the Dreadshade in here. Then we have a little bit of card draw and like kind of value spells. So we've got Painful Lesson, just to draw some cards, loses life. It's not amazing, but it does the job. We don't have a lot of 3-drops, so I put it in there just so we can get a little bit of extra oomph later in the game if we run out. So if somebody settles the wreckage on us, or if somebody has like a Golden Demise, Yahenni's Expertise, some kind of board wipe that kills everything, we have a way to recover, so we've got the Painful Lesson. We also have Vanquisher's Banner, which draws us a card for every time that we play a creature spell of the chosen type. Obviously, we pick rats. Also gives all those creatures +1/+1. So, nice little wombo combo there. We can make a lot of really large rats, and we can also use it as a way to power through later in the game where we just chain rats together and draw a ton of cards. Immortal Sun, same kind of thing. It's got a funny little problem here in that players can't activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities, and we do have 2 Planeswalkers, so there is some, non-bow potential, as they say, where it'll kind of negate some of our own cards, but we try not to have those in the same time. And then we've got, you draw 2 cards instead of 1, spells are a little bit cheaper, and it pumps up all of our creatures. So it does a lot of different things for our rats. Last but not least, we have just a couple of kind of value cards, which are Liliana and Karn. They're just ways for us to gain exponential card advantage if we manage to get later into the game and we need to fight a more mid-range battle rather than just smashing through very early with rats. Liliana is great at returning rats back from the grave, or just, dumping out a whole bunch of zombies and then wiping the board. Karn does Karn things. The nice thing is that Karn's really consistent. You're going to plus Karn and get rats and rats, and so you'll just be able to draw another rat, play it out, and just keep going. So it's almost just like an extra card draw for the most part in this deck. And the last card that we have is the one that I mentioned before, which is a really cool one that got upgraded into this from Kaladesh, and that is Secret Salvage. So when you have a rat die, what you can do is you can use Secret Salvage, and you can exile it from your graveyard, and then search your library for any number of cards of the same name as that card, reveal them, and put them into our hand. So if we have a rat die, and then we draw Secret Salvage later on in the game, so we're at a point where the board got wiped, we're mostly out of cards, and then you top deck Secret Salvage. You can see how powerful that is. We've both kind of ground ourselves down, we're in a top deck war. You hit Secret Salvage, and suddenly you have 7, 8, 9 cards in your hand again. Boom, you play a bunch of rats onto the field, and you're just punching through damage again. You can draw a absolutely unreal amount of cards off of this, and especially if you have something like Vanquisher's Banner, it gets really absurd. So Secret Salvage is a very cool card. Really funny card to me, at least, to have in Singleton, because you should only have 1 card in your deck of each kind, but we're cheating the system, so we're using rats. This deck has been really good to me. I've played it on stream a little bit as I've been adjusting it, and it hasn't had a losing record yet. It's always made me money back, so we're going to try and keep that up and get at least a 4-3 or a 5-3 out of this one, and we're going to jump into the games right now.